Hello, I'm Hector Elizondo, Emmy Award-winning actor, and I want to talk to you about getting older. My body hurts, my joints ache, and sometimes I forget. I forget that doing all your own scenes for a movie isn't always the best decision. Especially when you're galloping side-saddle down a countryside road on a horse named Archibello, who seems to have only one speed, high. And pulling on his reins only seems to encourage him to go even faster. So, of course, my body hurts and my joints ache, but it's not because of my age. It's because I'm living my life. Oh, Archibello!
Don't let life pass you by. Take care of your brain health. It may just help you stay on top of your game.
As soon as this scene wraps, I'm going to kiss the ground, thank Archibello for his outstanding performance, feed him a carrot, and visit brainhealth.gov.
Find out how you can make the most of your brain as you age at brainhealth.gov.
Every day, 70,000 puppies or kittens are born in the U.S. Cute, right? Well, what's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents. And when a kitten has a litter of oopsies and a puppy has a litter of uh-ohs, pretty soon you have thousands and thousands of OMGs. And that leads to millions of pets being killed in shelters each year. But if 80% of people with pets say they believe in spaying and neutering, then what gives? Turns out that those sweet little fuzzballs can get pregnant sooner than you think. A lot sooner. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. You just have to remember one number, 4, as in 4 months. When you bring home Maggie or Ruby or Puddles or Clyde, get them fixed at 4 months old. It can be old enough to get pregnant, and it's definitely young enough to make a difference. Prevent more. Fix at month 4. Visit fixat4.com for more information. Brought to you by Best Friends Animal Society.
It took me a long time to be able to say Chandler has cancer, because that is such a scary word. St. Jude takes care of absolutely everything. And knowing that we don't have to pay for all of the medical expenses, that's huge.
St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
St. Jude is uniquely positioned to advance the cures of pediatric cancer, I think better than any other institution in the world. The contributions make a big difference.
Donors are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you. We have the resources and we have the focus. And so if St. Jude doesn't do it, who will?
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain absolute rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And a good morning to you, one and all of you liberty lovers and ecclesiastites all across the globe. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from the Bunkerized studio, located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And yes, I did check this morning, and it has not changed. Here it is, Thursday, January number 18 in the year of our Lord 2018. So 18 for 18 today. Glad that you are here. Notice a little bit of a change up in the opening segment there. That is the old school intro. So I thought I'd just bring that back for a day. We're gonna do things a little bit more old school style this morning. The format is going to, just a little tweak on the format, but just for today only. So we're going to kind of go back to the way that when I first started, there are fewer commercial breaks. Yeah, that's okay. That's the way we'll do it. We'll just keep going right on through as much as, because got a lot to cover today. Got a whole hell of a lot to cover. And so let's get started right now, shall we? Here it is on Thursday. Yeah, don't forget later today, of course, we have the holidays for today, the holiday list. Trump is out there. Things we're going to try to get to and cover today. Trump is delivered his nominations or awards for fake news. Faux news, fake news, the funny thing is this has got the lamestream media. These people just don't know what to do. They have unloaded every shotgun and rifle barrel that they have. They've tried every trick in their playbook. Nothing is working on Donald Trump. He has got them flabbergasted. I mean, it is so bad for the lamestream media in their fake news. It is so bad that some of them resort to crying or nearly crying on the air. And I'm not talking about when they found out that Trump actually won the election and not Clinton back over a year ago in November. Now, I'm talking just recently, over the past week. He has got them so he actually tells a reporter to get out. He throws him out. When was the last time that was done? Because he kept lying and kept pressing about some stupid shit, basically. We're going to use the term shit and shithole. Well, speaking of that, you have one network that used it nearly 200 times in one day. They were obsessed with it. They couldn't believe that a president of the United States had the balls to actually call out and speak the truth to power about certain. Well, even though he didn't really say that, because there are people, there is only one person out of 4. So basically, what we're saying is 3 out of 4 people are saying that they didn't hear Trump actually use those words, but only that one person who's known to be a liar, who has been proven to be a liar on important matters, he's the only one that's telling the truth. So, so Dickie Durbin, you might as well call him lying. Of course, you know why the president's calling him Dickie. But we can just assume that that's not the reason why he's calling him Dickie. But lying Dickie Durbin according to the lamestream media, especially CNN, is the only one who's telling the truth. Nobody else who was at the meeting, nobody else who could have heard what was going on at the meeting, nobody else is backing up Dickie Durbin on this one. But Dickie Durbin is the only one telling the truth, and Dickie Durbin has been proven to have lied in the past over important little things and big things. Not so important things and important things, but he's the only one telling the truth right now. And that has got the press in a tizzy, because how dare you? And then I think they realized that they made a mistake early on, because they haven't been pursuing the Clintons to comment on the whole Haiti thing. Anybody notice that? Hillary was out there saying we didn't, or Bill Clinton was out there, saying how much that they've done for Haiti, and he barely got a mention. Well, the media is, back to, even though they may have been trying to not cover up, but trying to backstep and backpedal and slightly apologize for protecting Bill Clinton back in the Monica Lewinsky and other sex scandal days in the late 90s. And notice that is now turned 20, that whole scandal. It's 20 years ago. So they're not giving Clinton, a lot of coverage on this. Well, because they know the truth. That's why they you can't make this up. Look, everybody knows that Haiti's a shithole, and everybody knows that there are countries in Africa that are shitholes. There are shitholes all over the globe, and it is now coming out how the lamestream media covered up or chopped off part of what the president said. He wanted more immigrants to come from Norway and Asia. Now, last time I checked, Asia is not full of a bunch of, pale-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired people like Norway. I mean, nothing wrong with being white. There's nothing wrong with being a white man's white and being blonde hair or sandy blonde and blue-eyed or green-eyed. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with Norwegians. Norwegians are, look, they're a handsome race of people. Nothing wrong with that. Norwegians are pretty smart. Isn't there a cell phone company that's headquartered in Norway? What cell phone company is headquartered in Norway? I think there's one. Used to be a big one too, wasn't it? I don't remember. One of the Nordic countries. And of course, we had some other Nordic countries companies. It's Saab, Ericsson, right? Ericsson Electronics, isn't that in Norway? In any case, but last time I checked, I didn't see a lot of white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people coming out of Asia. But they chopped that part off, and now they're being called. This is why they're called fake news, because they don't report the news. They only try to push forward their narrative. I mean, one of their biggest stars is a lesbian who can't even tell the truth herself. I mean, she supposedly gets hold. Oh yeah, she's got. Rachel Maddow. Everybody calls her Mad Cow. She gets a hold of some of the president's past tax returns. Well, we got his tax returns, man, and this is going to be big. It's going to be big, big, big. And then she goes on her show. Well, there's really nothing here. Well, I wouldn't have had that be my lead story of the night, but. That's what she led off with. Everybody was trying to tune in to see, well, what did Rachel find out? What did Rachel find out about Trump? Oh, yeah, Trump's going down. Trump's going down, 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 down. Oh, nothing? Nothing? And that kicked it off. Oh, Trump is in great health for a 71-year-old man. Oh, Trump's going to have a heart attack within the next 3 years. Really? How do you know that? Did you examine him? Well, just, it's the calcium thing in his heart is, like over 100. It's like 130 or something, 133 or something. Oh, so when you actually look it up, basically it's, he's within the parameters of good heart health for his age group. And that it would be a concern if it were over 300. And it's nowhere near that. So, yeah, Trump may have a heart attack someday, like many Americans do, but it ain't going to happen while he's in office. And it's not going to happen now because his heart isn't that bad. He's a healthy 71-year-old man. And frankly, I just heard this morning, Bill Clinton is a lot worse off than Donald Trump. Oh, but Bill Clinton isn't president. Well, granted, true. But nobody's out there talking about Bill Clinton having a heart attack over the next year. I mean, these people want do you get this? These people want the president to be sick. Not that they are hoping that he's not. Not that he is, and they're hoping that he's really not, or it's not that bad. Oh, no. Understand this, and don't doubt me. These people, they want Donald Trump to be sick. They are hoping that he is. They were relying on this annual exam to tell the American people just how bad Donald. I mean, he's obese, he's fat, he eats McDonald's, his cholesterol should be through the roof. He's the starting of dementia or Alzheimer's. His arteries should be clogged. I mean, they want the worst out of this guy. They want the worst. They are praying to their gods for the worst. I mean, think about this for a second. Folks, let this sink in. You have radical leftists in this country who are praying to their gods that Donald Trump, our president, is sick. So sick, in fact, they are praying that he is so sick that he has a heart attack and dies in office. I mean, think about that for a second, folks. It is the most ridiculous thing that you could ever come across. And everywhere you turn, now this is just a year in. We're only a year into his presidency. That's it. And we have had court case after court case after court case of people challenging this president's executive. Who challenged Barack Obama's executive orders? I can't remember. How many did the man issue? Now, I'm not saying that Barack Obama issued a plethora of them outside of the norm of presidents. Because, as far as executive orders are concerned, he didn't do any more than some other presidents, and that's true. However, when it comes to constitutional and unconstitutional executive orders, this guy Obama has issued far more than any other president. He took his pen and his phone and he bypassed Congress. And Congress and nobody else did anything about it. Nobody took Obama to court. Well, I think there were a couple of times we tried it, and the president could do it that whatever he damn well pleases. Is what some of the and now it's gone the opposite. It has gone the exact opposite. So President Trump is issuing executive orders that are unraveling or rescinding previous president executive orders, and the left is suing the president and taking him to court, and the courts are siding with these people and saying, no, you can't do that. So evidently, whatever executive order the executive orders that President Barack Obama issued cannot be rescinded because he's deity Obama. Deity Obama. You cannot. I guess you just can't. You can't do anything to Obama. You can't. You can't take down his administration, former administration. You can't do anything to Obama. But I'm just beside myself thinking how badly these people want this man to be sick, how badly these people want this man, literally, they want him to be dead. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, because they pretty much say, well, hey, look, they have TV doctors. They're not TV doctors. They have doctors come on TV. By the way, which is bordering on illegal. You cannot diagnose. You're not supposed to be able to. It's unethical, for sure, to diagnose or issue a diagnosis of someone without examining them and or reviewing their charts. But they've been able to get a doctor to come on there and say, "Oh yeah, Trump is sick. Trump has got heart disease. Trump is obese," and they're even going so far as to complain that Donald Trump is faking his height. Because Donald Trump says, well, he's 6'3", but his driver's license says he's 6'2", and he's 71, so he should actually be 6'1" because they shrink. And look, he's standing next to Obama, and they're throwing out this picture there of him standing next to President Trump, Obama and Trump standing next together, and it looks like Obama might be a half to an inch or an inch taller. Who's and Obama said to be 6'1". Now, first of all, Obama's taller than 6'1". Second of all, if you just float, now this is where they make their mistake. Well, they got to show the full body photo of these two in order to make their point. But the problem is if you scan to their feet, if you scan down to their feet, take a look at their shoes. Incoming President Trump is wearing flats. Obama's got heels. Obama's dress shoes have heels. Now, I know the difference because I have a pair of dress shoes that are flats. They're not loafers, but they are dress shoes like President Trump is wearing. And I also have a pair of black shoes, dress shoes, that have heels like Obama. And I can tell you it adds 1.5 inches to my height. I feel great when I wear those things because, it makes me taller. So just look down to his shoes and to the two men's shoes and you'll see the difference. They're not comparing apples to apples. Well, look, Obama's only claims to be 6'1". Who's taller than 6'1", by the way? Obama's about 6'2", 6'2.5". Just looking, there are people who've already, have proven Obama's true height. But that's irrelevant. Obama was emaciated. And the reason... Now, look, folks, you got to understand something. The reason why they were trying to put Obama's height lower is to show that that he was in better. Well, look, they're saying that the reason why that they added an inch to President Trump is so he wouldn't appear to be obese. You know, his health records. If he's 6'2", he could be in that the obese category, more than 30% BMI. But if he's 6'3", that puts him just under it, so he can't be construed or listed as obese. Well, by the same token, if you make Obama shorter, it means that his weight is more in line with what his body type is. If he's an inch or two taller than what they say, that means he's underweight. And we know being underweight can be just as unhealthy as being overweight. There are a lot of ultra skinny people running around. They're not very healthy people. I mean, hell, I was just behind a guy yesterday in the garage. I mean, he was at least 6'4", probably 6'5", 6'6", and he maybe, if he was lucky, he weighed 120 pounds. I mean, he was just I don't even know how he was standing up. I don't know how those legs of his were holding him up. It's serious. They were just a couple of sticks. I mean, he should have been. He was so tall and thin, and I know the skinnier you are, the taller it makes you appear. But when you're measuring him, when you're looking at him standing next to other things, and you know the rough height of other things and other people, as well as yourself, and so you can measure it and get a pretty accurate measurement. He was tall, no doubt about it. But I mean, he wasn't 8 feet tall. I mean, he looked like he was 7 foot tall if you just stood back and look at him because he was so damn skinny. But the reality is he was about, no more than 6'6", but he was about 6'4" to 6'6". And if he was lucky, he maybe weighed 120, 130 pounds. And that was due to the clothing that he was wearing. It made him look, he was wearing some, blue collar outside work clothes, so he made him look a little bit bulkier. So I bet you he was probably skinnier under. If he was wearing normal clothes, it was the summertime and he had shorts on and a t-shirt, he'd be a rail. I don't know how he was standing up. So, but those kind of people, they're not healthier than obese people. They're not. The body isn't obvious for whatever reason. Either they do have a medical problem, or they aren't eating for what. And usually, if they're not eating, there's a reason. There are two reasons for people being that thin. One is an eating disorder. Now, maybe that eating disorder is medical. Like they have Crohn's disease or something, which makes them not healthier than Trump and an overweight person. That doesn't make them healthier. It makes them unhealthy. Or two, they have a drug problem. Not an alcohol problem, a drug problem. Okay, so one thing we do know for sure is obviously President Trump doesn't have a drug problem. Well, previous president, this president is has never been known to have taken illicit drugs, even pot. He's never been known to drink. Here's a guy who doesn't take drugs and doesn't drink. His whole family. I mean, they might as well be Mormons. They don't smoke. They don't drink. Won't hold that against Trump, though. And that's a bad thing. And you get this skinny guy who's his predecessor, who smoked like a chimney, who also ate bad food. But the only reason why you didn't see him eat a lot of that junk food is because his wife wouldn't let him. Because he didn't have a personality to stand up to his wife and say, I'm going to eat what I want, woman. Shoot. I ain't eat those carrots and that kale. I ain't going to eat that. I'm going to eat a hamburger. Anybody remember, how many times that they showed Obama eating hamburgers and eating bad food, hot dogs, all the other bad fast food? Every chance he got when he was away from Michelle, when Michelle wasn't surrounding him, didn't Obama eat a lot of bad food? He did. And there were people that suggested that maybe Obama had something called Marfan syndrome, which was a genetic disorder that people think that President Lincoln had. Made him tall, thin, lanky, elongated limbs. He just may have had elongated limbs just simply because he was just so damn skinny. Obama was underweight. And there was a reason for it, but nobody seems to care about that. Oh, no. Obama's he's healthy. No, he's normal weight. Sure, because you made him shorter, not taller. But everybody's they're jumping on Trump because, yeah, Trump is he's obese and they won't admit it. Fake news, folks. Fake news.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Hillary Duff. As a mom, I'm proud to support the March of Dimes in helping more women have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. That's why I walk in March for Babies. The money we raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org. Together, we can help make healthier babies possible for thousands of families.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Start it off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America's wounded warriors are coming home. After serving on foreign shores, these brave men and women are returning to their families and communities. Many have wounds you can see, and many have wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Now that these warriors are back home, they are ready to enter the civilian workforce. To help, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps warriors translate their military experience to the civilian workplace. These extraordinary men and women bring proven world-class job skills and a unique perspective on teamwork to the job. And to ensure the right warrior finds the right job, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right match. When you hire a wounded warrior, you hire an intelligent, talented, and committed new employee. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show. So, in the meantime, you've got the wonderful news out there talking about wishing that Donald Trump was sick, wishing that he was ill, wishing that he had various diseases, ailments, and even wishing to a degree that that he had a heart attack. Not kidding on this one, folks. I mean, it's seriously, these people are really that emboldened and on hating Donald Trump. It's just amazing stuff. But in any case, the fake news awards are out, and we'll get to some of those in just a bit. But one of the things that we could probably have all kinds of awards this year for the left. Telling the biggest lies. And this is just from Congress. Not from any other leftist that's not even an elected official. This is just from Congress. Telling the biggest lies could be an award. Nancy Pelosi would probably win this one. Well, she'd be definitely nominated. Getting raises and $1,000 or $1,000 to $2,000 in bonus, that's just crumbs. That's crumbs to the American people. They'll see right through it. It's crumbs. It's not crumbs. It's real money. Going from $8 or $9 or $10 an hour to $11 an hour is not crumbs. That's real money. Getting when you're making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, getting a $1,000 or $2,000 bonus is real money. We went through this yesterday. What $1,000 can buy somebody that might be, on the edge. You're making $30,000 or $40,000. You probably don't have a lot of extra money laying around. So when something big, a big ticket item needs to be purchased, you probably either have to put it off, you have to finance it somehow, or you have to do without. You have no other way. You don't have savings. Most people in that 30 to 40, the 20, 30, $40,000 a year category, even up to $50,000, they don't have a lot in savings. What are we told? We're told that you're supposed to have 3 to 6 months in your savings accounts, 3 to 6 months of your bills saved up. And that serves as a number of different functions. It serves as if you were to lose your job, it serves as a financial cushion so you just don't go bankrupt in about a week or two. It also serves as a cushion that should you need to fix something or replace something in a heartbeat, you don't have to rely if you have bad credit, especially, you have to go to hard money lenders or pay outrageous rates or fees in order to get the things that you need. You need to get the car fixed, or you need to buy that new refrigerator because the old one just shit the bed. For a lot of people, it's a big expense. Now, you might think, Nancy, that spending, $600 or $700-800 is not that big of a deal, but for many Americans, it is. So that $1,000 bonus it probably saved a lot. It was a godsend to a lot of people, especially if they're working at Walmart. These are not let's face it, they're the majority of them are not the creme de la creme of what we'd call high-end, high middle class or low upper class worker. They're not going to earn six figures. They're just not. They don't have the education and or the skills and or the experience to do that. I'm not calling them dumb, because there are some bright people working at Walmart or Target or places like that. But they don't have the education or skills or experience that's going to earn them. Now, granted, obviously there are some smart people working at Walmart, because there are people that work their way up through the ranks. They may come on as just a regular associate stocking the shelves or being a cashier, and they work up to being, chief cashier or front-end supervisor or department supervisor, and they work their way up to be front-end manager or department manager, and they work up their way up to be an assistant manager and then to a manager and on to bigger and bigger. This is the ladder. Walmart is famous for having this corporate ladder, by the way, for allowing regular Walmart associates, regular workers, come in and be able to climb the corporate ladder. If there's one thing about Walmart that people should understand and love about them, is they do that. They are big on hiring within. They're big from promoting from within. And there are a lot of people that take Walmart, and Walmart will help pay for education and courses and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people take Walmart up on that. A lot of people, they do end up working for Walmart for a majority of their working career, especially if they start early enough. Or if they have ambition. You don't got to be all that. You don't have to have a huge education if you have some ambition. Walmart wants workers. They want people who are dedicated. They want people with ambition. Those are the people that get promoted. And oftentimes they get promoted fast. I've seen it firsthand. If you want that thing, if you want to climb that corporate ladder, you've got a real good shot by working at Walmart. I'm just telling you right now. You may look down on Walmart people, but let me tell you, once you start climbing that corporate ladder and getting up to the upper echelons of management, even at the store level, you're making above average salary. So to start out at the bottom at $11 an hour at a company like that and get up to a $1,000 bonus out of the blue, that's not crumbs. That isn't crumbs. But this is what Nancy Pelosi is saying. No, okay, so this is just one company. But we've got well over 100 medium and large size national and regional companies, corporations that have come out and said that they're going to raise wages and or give significant bonuses. Hey, we're going to give you a $100 bonus. Okay, that might be crumbs to even people who earn $40,000 a year, $100. Yeah. They're going to take it, but no big deal. Okay, that I'll agree that might be crumbs. But when you start talking $1,000, you start talking $1,000, you start talking $2,000, $3,000, some companies up to $5,000 or more. That's not crumbs. You're talking some companies that are raising their minimum wage and going from, the $8 or $9 an hour to well above $11, $12. Some are even hitting that magical $15 an hour. Some companies, our minimum wage is going to be $15 an hour now. I guess to Nancy that because it wasn't mandated by the federal government as a minimum wage, it must be crumbs. But that's just not the only thing. You got companies that are also announcing not just paying their workers more or giving them bonuses that are not crumbs. They're also announcing major investments back into their companies that are going to end up expanding their companies, going to end up hiring more people. That's going to be a problem, however, because unemployment is dropping so fast. There are more and more people are jumping back into the labor force, and this is the dirty little secret that the press doesn't want to tell you about. The labor participation rate is rising fast. So why is it that the unemployment rate isn't rising? Well, because as these people jump back, all those people that jumped out of the labor market under Obama because there was just no jobs available for them, they're now finding that there are good-paying, solid, middle-class paying jobs available to them now. And in some industries, like the oil drilling industry, there's a shortage of workers. So these people who were sitting on the sidelines getting government assistance on a weekly or monthly basis are now jumping back into the labor force. And they're not being unemployed for very long. They're finding good-paying jobs, which is why you don't see the unemployment rate tick up. Because these people are finding, which is why you're seeing the participation rate rise, people getting back into the job market, which is why you're seeing the number of people on government assistance, like food stamps, fall dramatically. But yet you don't see the unemployment rate go up. In fact, the unemployment rate is either holding steady or dropping. That's not crumbs. And yet these companies are saying, what these companies are going to run, you know what? This is the type of economy that leftists should want if they want to be behind DACA and illegal immigrants. Because what's going to happen? The economy is going to boom. We're going to run out of workers. We're going to run out of people who are willing to do certain jobs. Because American citizens are going to, the American citizen right now who's got the lower end job. They're the landscaper, laborer. Well, all these companies that pay a hell of a lot more than the landscape company is capable of paying, they're going to go get those jobs, which means landscapers are going to be looking for employees. Well, there aren't going to be any American workers to get those jobs because they're all working at higher paying, higher level jobs. So this would be a boon to bring in immigrants, would it not? It would. But they're not actually out to help folks and do what's right for the American citizen. Oh, no, they're not even out for doing what's right for an immigrant. They just don't want those on the right to win at any cost. Hey, the economy is doing so well that now we have a shortage of workers because everybody who wants a job has one. But we still have all these unfilled positions all over the country. How are we going to fill these positions and keep the economy going and growing and have all these wonderful service sectors, doing their thing and making more money so their owners and their investors can make even more money so they can hire even more people so we can keep this. How do we keep this going? That's not what a Democrat thinks. They don't ask, how do we keep this going? What they're thinking is, well, hell, if we keep this going, government's going to get smaller and we're going to lose power. That's what they think. And proof of that is, crumbs again, is Apple. The big lefties love Apple. Apple is just Apple is run by a, openly gay man. What's his name? Tim Cook, Tom Cook, whatever Cook his name is. Yeah, he's Cook. He's got a partner, I guess. I don't know. A husband or something. He never really talks about it. I wonder why. Because that doesn't really matter, does it? But they're these. Speaking of leftists, this is an overpriced products company, by the way. I'm sorry, Apple commands a premium for their products and services, not because they're that much better than anything else out on the market, just because they're able to command and the people are willing to pay it. I'm not willing to pay that premium, but there are lots of people who are. And look, if somebody wants to pay it, obviously it's not overpriced to them. To me, it's overpriced. But here is Apple with all of this cash, by the way, from overseas. Apple has announced that they're going to invest $350 billion in the U.S. over the next 5 years, and they're specifically saying it is due to tax reform and lower corporate taxes. They're specifically saying that. Due to the Trump tax reform, Apple is going to invest $350 billion in the United States. They're going to build a new corporate campus. Not just their spaceship one that they just built. They're going to build another one. They're going to pay $38 billion in taxes. $38 billion in taxes on a good portion of their overseas cash that they've had offshore for years and years. They're going to pay that tax because they're bringing it onshore to help them pay for all these new improvements in these investments here. Wall Street Journal has a story. Apple will pay $38 billion in taxes on cash overseas and build a new U.S. campus. Apple recently said that it had $252 billion in cash or cash equivalents abroad that they did not bring here because they were paying at least 35. They're going to pay at least 35% right off the top. In other words, lose 35 cents for every dollar that they had over there. And there are no deductions on that, folks. I know you get some people on the left that claim, well, there are some corporations that didn't pay any taxes, Rod. They didn't pay any. So their effective rate. There is no such thing as an effective rate when it comes to repatriating money from overseas. There are no or very few deductions. It's going to be a full 35%. Not to mention whatever state that you're headquartered in, they might also have a state business income tax that is going to tax that too. So, and they're out in California. So it was conceivable very conceivable that if Apple would have brought their profits, their cash that they had sitting onshore, they would have had to pay up to 50 cents on every dollar to the government. Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. So you're going to leave it offshore. Well, lowering it to 20 or 21%. They should have even dropped it even further, but okay. So they still lowered it to 21%. Now all these companies say, hey, you know what? That's not a bad deal. We're going to bring some of our foreign profits onshore here in America. We're going to use it here to expand our operations and reinvest here in this country. We're going to use that cash to pay American workers more, to hire more American workers. They're all saying this. And so I know that's a shock to liberals. Oh, no, they can't. Apple is crediting Donald Trump for them bringing their money back. That's just terrible. Is anybody going to stop buying Apple? No. As a matter of fact, it's probably a brilliant move. Apple is now saying, hey, because Donald Trump just lowered our taxes, we're going to show that we can actually work with this guy, work with this administration. We're going to follow along. We got lower taxes. We have an economy that's starting to boom. We got people who are going back to work that have money to spend on our products. So we're going to gear up. We're actually going to help this guy remake America, make America great again. And that has got some liberals livid. But you know what? That opens Apple up to a bunch of people that might not have thought about Apple before purchasing their products. The only thing it's going to do is help Apple. The few liberals who are going to drop, where are they going to go? Microsoft? They're going to go to Google? They're going to go to Dell? Apple stands to gain a whole hell of a lot more and gain a lot more followers than they're going to lose by admitting that it's a Trump thing. Can you imagine, not wanting to do business with Apple because they said the tax that, hey, we like the new tax code because it's going to tax us less? Can you imagine, people actually standing against Apple, protesting it? You guys are bringing money back because the taxes are lower. How dare you? You guys are going to build a new U.S. campus along with your current spaceship one. How dare you? You guys are going to invest $350 billion over 5 years and hire a bunch new American workers because of the lower tax? How dare you? Well, you're going to get some ultra-liberal idiots who are going to do that. They're going to say, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say that. How dare you help Donald Trump? You know, these people hate Donald Trump so much that they're willing to screw you in the country in order to get him out of office. That's how bad it is. So Apple is going to bring in a bulk of their $250+ billion in overseas cash reserves. They're going to end up paying $38 billion in taxes on that cash, which is going to go into the, hey, talk about increased revenue to the government, so the government has more money to spend. Not that the government needs more money to spend, but they're going to have more money to spend, $38 billion more that they wouldn't have had before. Does anybody realize that? You want to increase taxes? You want to increase revenue to the U.S. Treasury? Do you realize that Apple is just offering this government, our government, $38 billion that it wouldn't have had access to before? I'm just saying. Let that sink in for a minute. In other words, that's $38 billion that the Obama administration could have spent. And they didn't because they didn't want to lower the tax rate to help companies like Apple bring that money back onshore. $38 billion. But I guess that's just crumbs to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. That's just crumbs. Investing $350 billion, which means a lot of U.S. jobs, both in all areas, in design, in construction, in the lowly jobs of maintenance once the facilities are built, manufacturing to man those plants, because they're not just going to be offices, it's going to be plants, and as well as all the management, everything else that goes along with these kinds of jobs and facilities. Hey, that's just crumbs, Nancy. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands of people being employed directly by Apple because of this $350 billion investment, not to mention the thousands of people who will be hired indirectly because of Apple in this investment. But that's just crumbs. Just crumbs. Those people don't need any of that. Oh, hell no. That's just crumbs, man. But Apple's not and that's just one company, Rod. Just one. Well, we've already had over 100 companies who've said similar things. That's not even including all the mom and pop shops out there that are getting a tax break, that are getting, what can they do with that money? Your little store on Main Street, what can they do? Let's just say that the taxes are lowered where they get an extra $1,000 a month, the equivalent of $1,000 a month, or $12,000 a year for the mom and pop. Do you know how big that's the equivalent of $1 billion for a big corporation? For a mom and pop shop? Oh, they could hire another worker. They could do some investment in expanding so they could make even more money, so they could pay more taxes too. Maybe they can open that second storefront in another town and hire 3 or 4 or 5 more people. Every little bit helps. Oh, but to Nancy Pelosi, that's just crumbs. Rod, how dare you? That's just crumbs, man. Crumbs.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show. Let truth be told. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm a leftist elite Hollywood a-hole? If so, good news. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College is now open, featuring such courses as unemployment is not paid vacation. No, Americans don't want to spend $19 for an order of French fries, and the ever popular shut the hell up. Why, just listen to this big-time celebrity endorsement.
I'm not Rosie O'Donnell, and I think this school's offensive, sexist, and racist.
And I think you're a giant a-hole who needs to shut the hell up. Hey, we teach a course in that. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College, where being an a-hole is not a guarantee you'll be an A student.
And now, a message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare. I was terrified. It was like your head's gonna explode.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
Just all of a sudden couldn't see.
Migraine has ruined my life.
Absolutely terrifying.
There's pain that does not stop.
It's a throbbing, pulsing, banging, hammering feeling in your head.
36 million Americans suffer.
I started getting migraines around 5 years old.
Just takes over everything.
I feel trapped by migraine.
It hurts like my head's gonna fall off.
And the whole world around you stops.
My world has gotten small.
You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
I had spent a year housebound. It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill. A breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event!
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
Let's rock this joint!
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with completely. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back. Hour number 2. Here it is on a Thursday, January number 18 in the year of our Lord 2018. I am your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from the bunkerized home studio located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And yes, I did check this morning, and it has not changed. It is still the same. Welcome back in the fastest 3 hours on Internet Talk Radio, powered here by Zinc Media Arts. Doing a little bit of old school this morning. Going back just for today to some old stuff, theme songs and some old older format just for today. Got a lot to cram into it, and the way we're doing the format. And I used to try to do things in a every half hour, change up the subject. And we're gonna try to keep that going, cover more topics this morning. Like right now, we have, from the Politico, you have Democrats are saying to Trump on infrastructure, show us the money. The infrastructure bill. And no. He doesn't need to show them the money. That's the whole problem. The whole problem is not the showing them the money for the infrastructure. I mean, look, we supposedly we showed them the money, a couple of times before. Remember under Obama, we had the shovel-ready jobs under Obama. It's stimulus and the son of stimulus and the grandson is. They spent trillions of dollars. What do we got? We still have a crumbling people. Do you understand this? We spent trillions of dollars under the Obama administration. A lot of money of that money which we didn't really have had to be borrowed, which contributed to the wonderful $20 trillion in debt, national debt that we have now, and that's just the funded liability debt, not the unfunded liability debt, which is going to bankrupt. That's really going to bankrupt us. Everybody's focused on the $20 trillion. Compared to the entire government debt, going to use Nancy Pelosi's terms, that's just crumbs. Folks, you would not, to actually look at, and it's easy to come up with a number for this stuff. They're not pulling these numbers out of thin air, out of their, they're not ass wipes pulling these numbers out of their, their derrieres. These are real numbers that you can figure out. If you understand the number of people in this, just citizens, current citizens alone, and this doesn't even include people that should not be getting certain benefits but are or will, just citizens alone, what is promised to citizens alone from Social Security to Medicare and Medicaid, and a host of other federal government funded or partially federal government funded or federally mandated programs out there that everybody at some point in their life, if they live long enough, is going to tap into. You're looking at rough conservative estimates of over $200 trillion that is going to be needed just for the generations that are currently alive. Now think about that for a second. Let that sink in. We have a debt, a real, visible, current debt of around $20 trillion. We have IOUs or promises to pay to people in the future that are currently alive. That's not including people who are yet to be born, but currently alive. That is in excess of $200 trillion. We don't have that money. And even if they did not touch the so-called Social Security lockbox, even if they did not touch it, do you realize it was built on a Ponzi scheme platform? It was bound to run out of money at some point. And this is what FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he knew this from the beginning. The way it was originally, and look, they only compound the problem by adding people to the program. But even with the people that were on the program or going to be utilizing the program, the way it was originally designed by FDR, he knew it was going to run out of money someday. He knew it was known. Even if they never, ever touched any of that money and put it into the general fund, which was an impossibility. From the get, it had to. It had to go in the general. Why? Because it wasn't a program like Obamacare. It was called a tax. And therefore, if it is a tax, it has to go into the general fund. That's just constitutional. You don't have, I've told people this, I don't know how many times, that whenever the IRS or Social Security Administration sends you what your account is in your Social Security fund, it's a lie. Because Social Security has already been ruled a tax. You don't get to determine or have an account based on taxes. Otherwise, if it's not a tax, it's unconstitutional. Just like the fine for not having, the mandated Obamacare stuff. It was a tax, not a fine. Therefore, because it was a tax and Congress has the ability to impose taxes, it was viewed as being constitutional by the Supreme Court. It's a tax. You don't get to determine where the tax dollars are spent that way. I mean, which is also this whole notion you could to a certain degree you can determine that you don't want your tax dollars to be spent on certain things. Well, Frank, the reality is that may make you feel good, so you can say, well, my tax dollars aren't going for this illicit purpose or that. Give me a break. Unless everybody in the country does the exact same thing, yeah, your tax dollars are being used for those. They're being intermingled. Oh, no. My tax dollar, I know that 10 cents of every dollar goes to help pay for abortions. And I just marked it so they can't use it for that. You're an idiot. Of course they're using it for that. They have to. They can't not use it. I mean, seriously, folks. Let's be honest and real with this. You might be able to use some accounting trickery, but the reality is, when it comes right down to it, your tax dollars are being used for exactly what you say you don't want it to be used for. Sorry. Because we don't have different funds for this program or that program. We have budgets. That's it. This department or this program has this amount of budgeted money. Has nothing to do with whether or not, your particular part of your dollar is going towards that department. It is. Whether you think it is or it isn't doesn't really matter, because it is. And you can use, anybody can use accounting trickery to make you feel better, make it look like my money isn't being used in this part. Give me a break. It is. Because, let's be real. Let's just say that you check it off and you don't want any of your tax dollars going towards abortion. So 10 cents of every tax dollar, let's say 10 cents of your tax dollar, you paid $1 in taxes. 10 cents was going to abortions. And you're saying, well, I don't want my 10 cents going to abortion. Well, abortion has a budget. Does it not? The government paying, Planned Parenthood has a budget. And if it's budgeted that 10 cents of every dollar goes over there, so guess what? They'll do a little accounting trick. They'll just say, okay, we'll take your 10 cents out. Does it lower the budget? No. They'll just say, hey, this taxpayer hasn't said that we can't use their money for abortion, so we're going to take 20 cents of every dollar, and we're going to take that extra 10 cents of yours, and we'll put it over to his dollar. So, with the 10 cents that we're taking out of another budgeted program, we'll just put your 10 cents in there instead. So you're actually paying 20 cents to that program, and he's paying 20 cents to Planned Parenthood. Is Planned Parenthood affected at all? No. It's an accounting trick. Are you still paying for it? Well, hell yeah. Because you're not paying 90 cents in taxes now. You're still paying $1. It's an accounting trick. That's all. Let's wake up to this, folks. So this whole notion that Democrats are coming to Trump and say, well, show us the money for infrastructure. That's a bunch of BS. The Democrats want to come, well, see, look, Donald Trump isn't using this accounting trick properly. He's not going to be spending enough. Well, we already spent trillions, and what are you going to do with it? The president is not the one that's supposed to come up with a number, by the way. The president is supposed to, hey, look, we need money for infrastructure. Now, I think we kind of need this amount of money. But you know what? Mr. Tom Carper, Senator, it's not up to the administration to show the money. This comes out of the House. You got to go to your Democratic colleagues over in the House of Representatives and say, hey, look, we need some money for infrastructure here. You show us the money. Where's it going to come from? How much are you going to spend? The president can demand and say, look, I need, $1 trillion for this. Then it's up to the House and Congress to say, okay, we're going to give you $1 trillion. Not to say, where's the money going to come from? Do your freaking jobs. It's not the president's job to do that. You guys are the ones that come up with the budgets. You guys are the ones that figure out where the tax dollars are going to come from or go to in order for this kind of stuff. Not the president. The only reason why you want the president to say something is because you want the ability to be able to bash him. That's it. That's it. Nothing more. You want to, the president's going to take money out of this program to pay for this. How terrible is that? I mean, that's all they want it for. Is it they just simply want it to be able to, I don't know, bash the president. That's it. That's it. Plain and simple. I mean, these people are just, just a little. It's so obvious. But here it is in Politico. They have the story. Senator Tom Carper, C-A-R-P-E-R, taking serious action to address the crumbling state of the U.S. infrastructure is likely to cost far more than the Trump administration is reportedly willing to spend, says a key Democrat overseeing infrastructure policy, Tom Carpenter, out of Delaware. Now, he's like Biden. He's an Amtrak enthusiast who commutes to Washington on the train. You know, just another Biden. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing, by the way. I am not disparaging, Tom Carper for wanting to live in Delaware and commute to Washington on a daily basis or a weekly basis or what have you. It means that he's not spending a whole hell of a lot of money on living expenses in Washington, D.C. That's not a bad thing. But this building on this whole infrastructure as far as trains are concerned, this country isn't built on trains. We're not. We're built on the automobile. We're built on quick transit, not mass transit. And quick transit is an automobile. It's not a train. Trust me, I've taken, commuter trains. They're not fast. They can be convenient. I can tell you this: when I did take a commuter train into work when I lived in southern New Hampshire and worked in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, it was faster for me to drive there and back than it was to take the commuter rail. It did. Well, I mean, in most days. I mean, you got bad weather, snowstorms, and then, it would have been better off taking the train. But it wasn't necessarily all that much cheaper. It was cheaper to take the train, but not that much. Now, my thing was did I want to spend, hour and a half to 2 hours driving, or did I want to spend 2 to 2.5 hours riding a train? That's how long it took, because there were multiple stops before I got to my stop. And then when I got to my stop, I still had to drive about a half hour. So, I mean, it was either an hour and a half to 2 hour commute driving all the way, or it was a 2 to 2.5 hour commute just driving to the station and back. So I still had to drive. Still needed the car. But we're a nation that is built on quick transportation, not mass transportation. And in order to switch us over, you are talking about redesigning and redeveloping our entire transportation infrastructure system. That is just not going to take a few $1 trillion. That's going to take hundreds of trillions of dollars in today's dollars to do that. I mean, that's the reality of it. I hate to tell people, but we're not going to get super fast trains like they have in Europe. We're not built that way. We don't have the ability. We cannot take a lot of, we can't take a lot of existing track and put these super fast trains on them. It can't handle it. Two, the rails are being used by other rail companies in commerce. Not for passenger systems, but for commerce systems. So there's going to have to be more track laid. There's going to have to be upgrades to existing track. You're not going to be able to go through certain communities at that speed, so you're going to have to reroute, like we've been doing with a lot of highways lately. You're going to have to reroute around these certain communities. We're not built for mass transit. I'm not saying we don't have the room or the space. Oh, we do. We do have the room and the space. It's just going to cost a whole hell of a lot of money to do it. Now, are we willing to spend that kind of money on, frankly, a technology that is limited and dated? Now, what do you mean, Rod? Well, do we want to spend our current tax money on infrastructure that is currently dated and will soon be outdated, or which is trains? I'm sorry, folks, but if we start getting drone systems and flying vehicles, even airplanes are dated. I mean, think of it. You could, it's short commuter airplanes are dated. If you have a flying car that can do 100 miles per hour up in the sky, are you going to bother going to an airport? No, you're going to jump in your flying car and take off. You're going to jump into a flying Uber and take off when you want to. Now, I don't know if we're going to have, if they're going to have fuel systems and fuel tanks that are going to be able to get people across the Atlantic or across the Pacific. Their airplanes might still have international flights still might have a purpose. But domestic flights? Oh, please. That's dated. And it's not as far off as you think. Well, the rail system, right, that moves an awful lot of product, We're not going to have flying. So, look, I'm just telling you, as far as passengers is concerned. People, moving people. It's dated. You're not going to have a train full of cars and other products, boxcars, doing 150 miles per hour. That's not going to happen. First of all, that's going to take a lot of energy because that crap is heavy. And there's no need for it to go that fast. You're not going to do 150, 200 miles per hour with, hauling a bunch of boxcars and new automobiles from Detroit or various places around the country where they're being built. There's no need to take your little Toyota, a bunch of Toyotas, 150, 200 miles per hour. There's just no need for that. It's too damn heavy for one. I mean, part of the reason for trains being able to go so damn fast is because they're not pulling a lot of cargo. It's just human beings. So they're a lot lighter than cargo. So, and you've got companies like UPS and FedEx and Amazon who are experimenting and using and targeting and using drone systems now already to get them to be put in place in the next few years. And this stuff is coming. The United States Post Office better get on board with this drone thing. Because they're going to get left behind. They think they're in trouble now. But that's government for you. They can't. They don't know what's coming. They try to predict it. They try to prevent it through laws and regulation. But innovation always comes through. It finds a way. So are we going to spend trillions of dollars on outdated technology and limited technology infrastructure, or are we going to update to something that's more viable? Well, Amtrak ain't it. And this is where this guy wants to spend a ton of money on. It's not it. Amtrak is dying. And at some point, it's going to stop because it is going to be too costly, and it is going to be more efficient, both energy and time-wise and safety-wise, to not utilize Amtrak. I'm just saying, folks. This is 2018. And if people say, well, that's not going to happen until 2030 at the earliest, right? Well, realize that's only 12 years away. Just slightly more than a decade. Do you realize in a heartbeat we have just gotten to be 18 years into this new century? This new millennium? It's 2018, not the year 2000, folks. Look how far we've expanded and come since the year 2000, since 1999. Look how far. So don't just show us the money that you want to spend on these programs. How about showing us the money where it makes sense to spend that kind of money on these programs? Right?
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Ah! Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye. I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Every day, 70,000 puppies or kittens are born in the U.S. Cute, right? What's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents, which leads to millions killed in shelters each year. Turns out, those little cuties can get pregnant sooner than you think. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. When you bring home a pet, get them fixed at 4 months old. Prevent more. Fix at month 4. Visit fixat4.com for more information. Brought to you by Best Friends Animal Society.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event!
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Welcome back. So they're talking about infrastructure that the president has to, in other words, this wonderful senator out of Delaware, Carper, he's another Biden. He wants the president to tell him, what they're going to say. That's not his job, seriously. And look, it doesn't matter. The whole reason, as I said, the reason why is because they just want to bash whatever number the president comes up with, and they want to bash whatever programs that the Trump administration wants to utilize the money on. Hey, I've often said, we've got this whole thing up here in New Hampshire still that now there's ads on television geared towards the Massachusetts state of Massachusetts and the people down there. This Northern Pass thing. If you're not from New England, then you don't know anything about this Northern Pass. But let me give you just a brief update on it. Northern Pass, there is a Canadian energy electrical producing company. There's a dam up there in Quebec, and they want to bring that hydroelectric power down into the U.S. of A. Now, how they want to do it is they want to use these high power, high tension, very tall, these 150-foot tall, ugly monstrosity towers with all these wires. They want to take it from the Canadian border up north in New Hampshire, run it straight through New Hampshire all the way down into Massachusetts. Now, as you can imagine, there are a lot of people here in the state of New Hampshire that don't like the idea. I mean, can you imagine having this corridor run right through the middle of our state? And you might think, well, it's no big deal. Well, we're not an urban state. We're actually a very rural state. We got this thing would have to run through the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Now, can you imagine the pristine beauty up there? And I don't know why environmentalist wackos aren't more up in arms over it. They're in a quandary, but it's power produced by water, Rod. It's clean power. It's not that clean if you're going to have to cut down thousands of acres of trees and run it through a national park and a tourist destination. There are people that think that this is going to kill tourism. It will kill tourism because it's going to kill the view. And you got those idiots down there, those a-holes down in Massachusetts running programs, running TV spots saying how wonderful it's going to be for the people of Massachusetts to get this energy coming out of Canada. Well, sure, we're not going to get it here in New Hampshire, but we're the ones that are going to freaking have to suffer for it. So you a-holes down in Massachusetts can feel good about getting energy that is electricity that's produced by water power. In Canada, of all places. I don't have a problem with it coming out of Canada. But this whole notion, this old-style infrastructure of miles and miles and miles and miles of wire is outdated. We can't keep adding to it because we can't keep maintaining all of it. Can you imagine we get these wonderful, normal winter ice storms and those lines come down? And they will, because similar lines to those in New England have been affected by the weather. We can't make them not affected by the weather. unless we bury them. And these companies refuse to bury all these lines because it costs too damn much. Well, the initial cost is more, yes. And in some cases, up to 3 times more, yes. But you get that back nearly the first time there's a winter storm where power lines come down, because you don't got to go out there and put them back up. You're not losing the revenue from lost power getting to your customers because the lines are down. Not to mention the visual aesthetics of it. But we have our government that wants to push for old, antiquated, outdated power systems or grid systems or infrastructure systems when we need to be, in this day and age, we don't need to be going these mass power generating plants, especially ones that are not even in our country. I mean, come on. Again, nothing against Canadians producing the power. It's great. But you know what? We don't need that kind of power not just that it's out of state, but it's out of country. Devouring our pristine landscape and harming our tourist trade, just to give some power down to people down in the lower part of the region. We're not going to benefit from this. Not New Hampshire. Vermont's not going to benefit. From what I understand, part of it is going to run through Vermont too. Vermont's not going to benefit from it. Maine is not going to benefit from it. But we're the ones that are going to suffer the brunt of having it. And we're going to get back the least for it. Now, you say, well, we're all one people, Rod. We're a union. Yes, but we're not one people. People live in particular states for a number of reasons, and some of those reasons it might be just because how pristine it looks, the low taxes. So we're not exactly, when it comes to stuff like that, we're not one people. That's why we have states. We're all one in a union called the United States of America. But when it comes to things that affect us locally, that's why we have states. And to ruin one state to benefit another is just, hey, look, isn't that why we have all these stupid smog laws all over the country? Because, hey, especially out in California, because, hey, speaking of that, how come nobody's talking about acid rain anymore? Does anybody remember acid rain? Now, I remember a time when all they would have to do to get this passed and get this thing already built was just say, it would cut down an acid rain, Rod. And that line would have been built straight down the middle of the state of New Hampshire, no questions asked, because it would help get rid of acid rain. Anybody talking about acid rain today? There is no mention of acid rain. Did we cure acid rain? No, all the chemicals or gases that supposedly caused acid rain are still up there in the atmosphere. We're still producing them, but now there's no more acid rain. Anybody notice that? No acid rain. Nobody is talking about. There is a whole generation, when you say acid rain, they have no idea what you're talking about. They don't know. That's how fast and how far acid rain has been buried. Nobody on the globe is talking about acid rain. Where did acid rain go? Did it stop raining acid rain? I mean, car paint, cars had their paint was peeling because of acid rain. Trees were dying because of acid rain. Ponds and lakes and streams were being polluted because of acid rain. And we had to do something. We had to transform our entire industrial system all over the globe. We had to stop using oil back in the 80s. Now, we needed to do something now, or else we were going to acid rain ourselves to death. Crops were going to fail in the 90s and 2000s because of acid rain. And all of a sudden we get into the 90s and early 2000s, and there's no mention of acid rain. It disappeared. We must have cured it. We must have fixed the acid rain problem. Nobody's touting it. I'm just saying we must have fixed it. Because nobody's talking about it. I don't see. Go Google it if you want to. I don't think you'll find a lot of up-to-date, more recent articles on acid rain. It doesn't exist anymore. Do you people realize this? It does not exist. It's the same thing with global warming. Every time they want to, they bring up the term global warming or the planet's warming, and the planet's warming here and the planet's warming. You got all these people that are going, shh, hush, hush. It's not global warming anymore, dude. It's climate change. So anything that happens in the climate, anything that happens in the weather, because we're not getting a lot of warming. There is not any real warming. In fact, the planet's actually been cooling over the past couple of decades, dude. You can't go with this warming stuff anymore. So global warming's been disappearing from the lexicon. So what are we supposed to spend our infrastructure on? Well, we don't have any acid rain, so maybe we don't need to have hydroelectric power. Well, there is no more global warming, really. In fact, we've had global cooling. So maybe, an oil-fired or coal-fired plant isn't so bad either now. So what do we spend our money on? Well, Mr. Good old senator from Delaware, maybe you should do your job so you don't come up, because whatever Trump says is you're going to bash. We know this. And I don't think Trump's going to fall for it. He's not going to fall. But speaking of Trump and what he is doing, though, what he is doing to piss off a lot of people on the left is he's unraveling. I mean, do you folks realize that President Obama's legacy has almost been completely undone? The only reason that it is not completely undone right now is because you got a few courts out there that think that they can stick their nose in the places that they're unconstitutionally capable of sticking their nose in. Like the DACA thing. Well, this is what happens when you think that you're so damn smart. Why didn't this guy who's the smartest president that we've ever had, supposedly? Why didn't he think of, well, if I have a pen, the future president's going to have a pen too. And he could write down things that I wrote down, and like I wrote down, and he could use his pen and his phone to undo what I did. Because he didn't go through Congress and have laws passed. It's a lot more difficult to change a law than it is to change an executive order. And so, and it's a lot more difficult to. It's a lot less difficult. Well, I should say it's a lot more difficult to change a law passed by Congress than it is to change a regulation. Now, I realize the fact that, sure, we could elect another, Obama in 2020 or 2024 at any time, and they could just take out their pen or whatever phone that they have at the time and reverse whatever Trump did. We understand that. That's the roll of the dice that we play every 4 or 8 years. Which is why executive orders and regulations should be limited. But unfortunately, it's the bulk of our system today, and that's unconstitutional in my book. But yeah, Trump is eliminating regulation like crazy. But who's to say that that another president in the near future comes along and says, no, I think we need all those regulations back again. And that's going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to happen. Because this country we're too foolish not to elect people who are going to harm us. Because we buy into their propaganda. Oh, they're going to help. They're going to help because we're going to feel so sorry for some of the downtrodden. We're going to get over this DACA thing. There's only 800,000 DACA recipients, right? And the majority of Americans are not feeling very sorry for DACA people. But at some point, all of that emotion is going to change, and people are going to start feeling sorry for certain kinds of people again. Oh, we need to do something to help them. It's just so terrible that they're living this way, and we're not helping enough. Government needs the help. And then government's going to come in and say, okay, you want us to help? We'll help. And then we're going to end up with all these regulations and laws and taxes again. We're suckers for this stuff. The American people are suckers for that kind of stuff. I mean, right now we're going, how dare California, did San Diego make it illegal to feed the homeless? How dare they? And, California is an ultra-liberal place. San Diego is no exception. And they're fomenting laws and regulations within various communities that you can't house the homeless, you can't feed the homeless because you don't have this license or this permit or this thing or that thing. And somebody, eventually California is going to say, what the hell are we doing? I thought we were so all caring. And they're going to reverse themselves, but because everybody's going to feel so bad for the homeless. So instead of actually helping the homeless, because this is just a Band-Aid, feeding them every day, Band-Aid, housing them in your own private residence, in your neighborhood, in a particular neighborhood during a very cold night, that's just a Band-Aid. We're going to have to actually attack the homelessness problem and attempt to fix it the right way. The way you fix it, you fix them so these people aren't homeless anymore. So everybody who does not want to be living on the street isn't living on the street. You got to fix that. Now, we're always going to have homeless people. This is the one thing liberals just don't understand. We're always going to have homeless people. Why? Because there are going to be some people who want to be that on the street. No matter what. Now, you may think that they're crazy. You may think they have a mental disorder. And some homeless people do have mental disorders. They do need some mental help. Mental therapy. We know this. However, that's not the vast majority of them. There are a lot of homeless people that are just down on their luck. So, hey, let's really help these down on their luck people and families that are homeless find a way not to be homeless anymore. Let's teach them to fish so they're not homeless. Oh, no. That's not what liberals want to do. They just want to feed them for a day or house them for a day. But don't do it in certain communities, though. Oh, no. We want to help the homeless. We just don't want to help them here. So why not just fix the problem, the root of the problem, instead of spending all this money on a Band-Aid? Well, it's the same thing with infrastructure. Why don't we invest in really fixing our infrastructure and updating our infrastructure to the 21st and 22nd century instead of putting a Band-Aid on it by using old 19th and 20th century technology and just patching it up? Because that's what they're talking about. Why do we have all these regulations from the 1930s still ruling business today? That's not how we do business anymore. And it's not because of regulation and government law and fiat that we don't do business that way anymore. It's because technology has advanced so far beyond what it was in the 30s that there's no possible way that regulation should be even pertinent today. But it is still trying to rule the roost today, and it is hampering future development and technology to move even further. Government is hampering technology. It isn't the private sector. And we hear all this stuff, well, the private sector, if we don't, this net neutrality, man, got to have it back. Why? The internet grew precisely because there was very little, if no government regulation at all on it. That's why it is where the internet today is nothing like it was in the year 2000. Nothing like it. I mean, it is ultra fast today, especially compared to what was in 2000. I mean, in the year 2000, most of us were still using AOL and dial-up. Anybody remember that? Netscape was still around. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot of video online. You sure as hell didn't have Netflix online. I think, wasn't Netflix? 99? Is that when Netflix came on the scene? Somewhere around there. You started, and it was DVDs being mailed to you. There was nothing online. The internet is, we didn't have Facebook. Think about that. Year 2000, there was no Facebook. Wasn't even thought of in 99 and 2000. I think we were all in awe about MySpace around 2000. And that was and Friendster. MySpace is still around, but it's a shell of its former self, and there is no Friendster, and there is no dial-up in this country. There's no AOL. There's no what was it, Net Zero? Anybody remember Net Zero? Yeah, that's what I use. I didn't use AOL. I used Net Zero. The internet is nothing like it was back then. Just 18 years ago. Think about that. You didn't have WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get type of systems. You didn't have blogs. And you had to understand and know how to build a website. This is why so many people back then were making big bucks building websites that were just static. They didn't do anything. But it was very difficult to build your own. I tried. I remember in 2003, 2004, tried making my. It was. If you didn't understand code, it was incredibly difficult. There was no WYSIWYG type of stuff. There were no blog platforms. There was no WordPress. And just saying. And all of that grew to what we have today because there was no government regulation. There was no so-called net neutrality. Can you imagine the entire web in this country being ruled, being regulated based on the technology of the year 2000? Imagine if we had net neutrality back then. Can you imagine? Would we be where we are? No, we would not be where we are. No, the internet would be nowhere near as advanced as it is today. So what are we going to spend our dollars on? Are we going to, our infrastructure dollars? What are we going to spend it on? Going to spend it on old technology? Because that's what they want. Biden is out there, running around a few years ago talking about they're going to put you back in chains. You got government bureaucrats that want to put you back in the year 2000 or back in the year 1930. No joke, folks. We still got regulations in a multiple of industries ruling today's modern industry with from regulations that were issued in the 30s and 40s. They don't work because those industries don't work the same. Some of the technology that those regulations are controlling aren't even being used anymore. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, you got to build a truck and cars to be fuel efficient at 55 miles per hour. Well, the speed limit isn't 55 anymore. So why would you do that? Why would you force manufacturers to develop products and services built around a regulation that limited speed to 55? Why? Okay. Yeah, the old cars are you can only do 55, so you really only have to build cars that are safe at a 55 to 60 to 65 mile per hour crash. Well, cars can do 70, 80, 90, on the highways legally in some states, 70 in some states, 65 and 70. In some states, it's even 80. Parts of Montana, there's a road in Montana, I understand there is no speed limit during the day when it's bright sunny weather. It's a clear day. There's no speed limit. So you're going to have regulations based on 55 miles per hour as being the max? Or you're going to have, hey, why would industry, if you're going to force industry to do that, isn't that putting people in danger? Oh, no. You've got to have the car has got to be built this way because that's government regulations because it's going to keep people safe at 55. Well, it won't keep them safe at 65. But that's the regulation. You got to build the car this way to keep them safe. But if we build the car that way, they won't be safe at 65. Well, regulation hasn't changed yet to meet up with that demand. Too damn bad. We're already there. This is the equivalent of having regulations issued even in the 90s, regulating a lot of different industries today. It doesn't fit. What was that old saying? Not a saying, but what did they during the OJ trial? If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Wasn't that it? That was it.
It was just another quiet Saturday at the Johnson home.
Honey, have you seen the hammer?
It's in the garage.
Oh, no, not the garage.
Later that same day...
Dad, I can't find the bicycle pump.
Son, I'm afraid it's in the garage.
The garage?
Then the following Tuesday...
Howard, where's the car?
It's in the garage.
Does your garage look like a giant yard sale without the yard? Do you cringe at the thought of entering your garage? Then you need Crest Garage Cabinets. With one phone call, those wonderful folks at Crest will come out to your home, design the best combination of cabinets for you, and install them quickly and professionally before your very eyes.
It's a miracle.
And unlike other companies who ask for a down payment or money up front, you won't pay a penny until your Crest cabinets are installed to your satisfaction. So call Crest today, toll-free at 1-800-548-2848. That's 1-800-548-2848. And you'll never fear going into your garage again.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals, because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin, this dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event!
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Show. We were going back in time a little bit before here on the program, and now we've caught back up a little bit to this time frame. Note that you can't always go back in time. It's not always the best thing, but we are doing a little bit of retroness here on the program. The format this morning has changed a little bit, and we're going to continue with it straight on through until the end of the program. You're probably going to want to listen to the end of the program too, to get the final feel of what it may have been like to be a part of this. But now this program was only 2 hours long 2 years ago. So can you imagine? I mean, I can't even get everything in on 3 hours. Can you imagine what it was like and how constraining it was to be at only 2 hours? It was extremely constraining. It was terrible, which is why I went to 3 hours. In any case, welcome back. Hour number 3 here on the Rod Eccles Show. I am your lovable host, El Rod, coming to you live from the Bunker Eye studio, located somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire. By the way, the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And how do I know? Because I still check on a daily basis, even if I don't say it. And it hasn't changed. It is a Thursday, January number 18 in the year of our Lord 2018. As we march along, got some audio here for you. I'm going to try to play a little bit of it, see if I can get it to come across. And of course, this I've been working on this stuff, trying to figure everything, and I don't know if it comes across or not all the time, but we'll try to give it a. Right now it's a clip from CNN, and them talking about the president having heart disease and how they're predicting that he's going to have a heart attack within 3 to 5 years. Well, now let's be honest. Predicting a man who's now 71 and is in a high stressful job like the president of the United States is it really that far off to predict that, he's probably above average risk right now of having a heart attack in the next 3 to 5 years? That doesn't mean that he's going to have one. But yeah, that's a safe bet to make. He could develop heart problems, in the next 3 to 5 years. He's 71 for crying out loud. It's highly possible. Not saying that he is. I'm sure as hell not hoping that he has problems. But it's a pretty good, if you're an underwriter of an insurance company, it's a pretty safe bet to say, well, yeah, this man, no matter who he is, this man who's 71 years old, in a high-stress job position, and is gung-ho like this man is, a type A personality, yes, it is. The chances are good, or above average, that he would have a heart attack within the next 3 to 5 years. Any underwriter would tell you that. So they're not making any outlandish prediction by any stretch of the imagination, but just listen to how they're actually hoping that that's the case.
So let's discuss with CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta and Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who was Vice President Biden's physician. Okay, gentlemen, it's great to have you here because you see different findings and conclusions in the data and in the results, the exam results that you saw. So, Sanjay, let me start with you. Here is President Trump's official body mass index. He is reportedly yesterday 6'3" tall, though that is different from previous official exams where he was 6'2". So somehow he has grown while being in the White House. And his weight was 239, meaning his body mass index is 29.9. What do you see here?
Yeah, this is math. This is based on the numbers that Dr. Jackson provided, and this is a body mass index ratio. The body mass index is not a perfect ratio by any means, but it is a good sort of indicator. And at 29.9 means someone is overweight. 30, just to give you a little bit of context, means someone is obese.
Okay, so he's that 0.1 away from being in the obese category.
That's right. So, borderline obese, I think, is how many doctors would probably describe that.
Dr. O'Connor, what do you see in what happened yesterday in the results?
Well, as far as the results, potato. Somebody's overweight or they're not overweight. And I really don't get hung up on a point here, a point there.
But don't you think it's significant if you were in the obese category?
It would be a significant word, and nobody wants to hear that word. Nobody wants to see that on their chart. But how you would treat it, no, that's not a huge difference.
But Dr. O'Connor, do you think?
I'll say okay. So hold it right there. So we've got CNN is really going hard at this 0.1% difference and this 1 inch difference. So the man is 239 pounds. So that means he would be a lot more unhealthy if he was 240 pounds. But that's it. That's the significance we're talking about here. And this other doctor who was also a physician of Biden, he's basically said, this is stupid. But doctor, don't you think this means this is significant? Well, nobody wants to hear the word obese. But, 239 pounds versus 240 pounds, is there really that much of a there's no difference. There's no difference. 239 pounds at 6'2" versus 239 pounds at 6'3", there's no difference, is what this doctor was saying. Only the word is, nobody wants to be called obese. It sounds terrible. But these are numbers that were just picked out of a hat one day. Don't misunderstand me on this one. Yeah, this whole body mass. Remember we used to go by percentage? Oh, that was a big, you're supposed to keep your, the percentage of body fat. This is why we have athletes that have, less than 10% body fat. They're considered to be elite athletes. People who have less than 10% body fat are elite, but that doesn't mean that they're healthy. We've had athletes, professional and amateur athletes with less than 10% body fat with no cholesterol, at the age of 19 collapse on a playing field or a court of a heart attack. So then they started realizing, well, maybe it's not the percentage. Then they found out there were other issues with some of these people. Maybe they had heart conditions, but they came up with this body mass index. Their body mass index was thrown off, which includes, muscle to height to fat to height to this stuff. And they came up with these numbers. And the problem is that now we've got these people talking about, well, he looks like he weighs more than 239. Really? I see people who are around 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" all the time. And I see guys who are 5'9". And then you look at them and they say, well, you ask them how much you weigh. They say, well, I'm 5'9", 5'10", I weigh 210. You weigh 200 pounds? Where? Oh, well, we're not taking into... We just think this whole body mass index means how round one is. It doesn't. You know what's included in the body mass index? It's not just your fat to muscle ratio. How about your bone density? It's why some skinny people weigh more than people that look bigger than them. Because they have bones that are denser, which weigh more. And you have some people that, well, they have less actual muscle but more fat. Well, fat takes up a lot less space. I know there was a picture the other day of an NFL player at 239. And they had a picture of Donald Trump at 239. Well, that muscle weighs a lot more than fat. So he's not going to be physically larger than the president. As far as round is concerned. He's going to have a smaller waist than the president if they're both 239 and one's a football player and one's, Donald Trump. He's going to have a smaller waist as a football player. Why? Because he's got more muscle, which weighs more. So there is all of these things that you have to take in consideration, which the BMI does not, by the way. And I know a lot of people think that it does, but you ask any doctor, does the BMI take into every physical aspect of a person's height, weight, ratio type of thing and how healthy they are? The doctor will say no. They'll say it's a good average measurement. But it really, when it comes right down to it, it doesn't tell you exactly how healthy or how poor, unhealthy you are. It can give you an indication of where you're headed and what you might expect if you stay in a certain area of the BMI, but it doesn't give you your overall health. And these people are weighing in on this. Well, he's got fairly low cholesterol for his age. He doesn't have diabetes. Oh, but the president's going to die in the next 3 to 5 years because that BMI, man, they're faking it. He's obese. By whose standards? Whose standards is a man obese? Honestly, I'm just asking the. I'm not saying that the president probably shouldn't eat healthier. I'm not saying the president probably shouldn't lose a little bit of weight. Maybe he should. Maybe he should get a little bit of exercise. Evidently, he's getting plenty. They gave him the stress test. It was, it's better than some people. Who are 20 years his junior. So, and look, you got some people who don't exercise, never exercise at all. They golf. I know people have said, well, golfing isn't exercise. Well, I know a couple of people who've always had a problem. Now Donald Trump hasn't always had a problem with his weight. But I know some people that have always had problems with their weight. And, speaking of one person in particular who's very famous, he's never, as far as I have known him, Rush Limbaugh has never been a thin person. But every indication is that the man at, what is he, 65, 66, somewhere around there, 68? He's pushing 70. He appears to be in excellent physical condition. By the way, he smokes cigars like a chimney. Although he says he's cut back. I don't believe it. But are we supposed to believe these idiots? There are a lot of people out there that fall into these categories on this BMI index that are, what the reality is that they're in better. You ever wonder how it is that some people who appear to be fat to you, and they appear to be fat and they are a little bit fat, can run mini marathons around a skinny person? Well, their BMI says that they're not in as good as shape as that skinny person is, but that marathon says that the reality is they are in better shape. And this is not this is not by any means, a rare case. You go to any amateur race, any 5K run, and you will see body types and body BMI types out, the different type BMI types out there in every one of them. And you will see some of these bigger people that fully complete the 5K, and they're not wheezing and out of breath. And you'll see some of the skinnier people with a better BMI index who barely make it across the line. Some don't even finish. So don't tell me that the president's BMI at 29.9 isn't that unhealthy? No. All you gotta do is just go to these 5K runs and these 10K runs that every community around the country just about has, and see the various types of people and see who makes it across the finish line without collapsing, and see who does collapse. And most of the time you'll find a lot of people who you would consider to be not in athletic condition are finishing ahead of the people who you think would be athletically inclined to finish first, simply by looking at them and their BMI. Their BMI says that they should, but they don't. So is it the end all be all? Like I said, ask any doctor who's going to be honest, who doesn't have a political agenda. Ask him, is that the end all be all? No, they'll tell you it's one of many guidelines. If your BMI is off, you may have some issues. But if everything else is in line, then the BMI isn't an issue. A supposed poor BMI is not an issue. If you've got a strong heart, it's not overworking, you have low cholesterol, if you have, all your other indicators are in the healthy category for a person of your age, but you have this BMI, so you have a little bit of extra weight, but nothing else indicates that there's a problem or going to be a problem, then the BMI is pretty useless. Any doctor will tell you that. But if you have other conditions that are questionable and your BMI is high, then the doctor can say, well, there's some issues here. Your BMI is high, indicating that, which is probably affecting some of these other health concerns. You need to do something, and you can start by losing a little bit of the fat weight on you, lowering your BMI. When you have other health concerns, that's when the BMI starts to kick in and says, well, we can address these issues, but hey, if you're absolutely healthy and can run a 5K or 10K marathon with no issues and your BMI is at 30, oh, hell, man, forget. We've got models now, these big models, these plus size models. And some of these women, these women, they do aerobics. They do 20 or 30 minutes of aerobics on a daily basis. But their BMI says that they should be passing out pretty much if they try to do that. Well, I guess somebody didn't tell them. Just saying. So they're all up in arms because they any case. All right. So the president's BMI is it 29.9 or is it 30.1? I mean, seriously, that's what the difference we're talking about. But the inch. He's 239 pounds. If he's 6'3", it's 29.9. If he's 6'2", it's 30.1, which means that he would be obese if he's 30.1. But if he's 29.9, he's just fat. He's just overweight. It's the same weight. What's an inch? And well, the other doctor said there is no difference, really. Just the word sounds more horrific than it is. By the way, as I was starting to say earlier in the program, Trump is commonsensically undoing, piece by piece, the main components of Obama's legacy. By the way, has anybody heard that Obama is now running into protest out there in Chicago over building his library? Evidently, he wants to take some public and private land, some of it historical, has some of that land has some historical significance or has landmarks, certain kind of land. I don't know the whole story out there. I just got wind of it. But evidently there are people that are saying, shame on you, Mr. Ex-President. And he doesn't particularly give a damn. He doesn't care. So they're trying. No, they're not going to stop it because this is Obama here. And this is Chicago, where his good buddy Rahm is the mayor. They're not going to stop. But they're bringing this to light that Obama is evidently, taking some public and private lands that have some historical landmark or historical significance to build his library, his presidential library. And this is not a big story? Well, I guess because it's Obama, it can't be a bit. The lamestream media is not going to make it a big story. But that's evidently what's going on out there. You folks can look it up. This is Obama's legacy. Look, he needs to build this monstrosity out there in order to preserve what's left of his legacy, because President Trump is undoing his legacy piece by piece, because most of his legacy is built upon what? Executive orders and regulation. It isn't built upon actual law. And the one law that would define his presidency is also being unraveled bit by bit. That would be Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Trump continues to baffle. He doesn't continue to baffle anybody except for those on the left. This is from National Review, by the way. Trump continues to baffle the left. Trump Republicans still struggle to square the circle of quietly agreeing so far with most of his policies. This is the dirty little secret. Even in the Never Trumpers, they agree with some of his policies. But they can't agree with him because they're Never Trumpers. See their dichotomy there? They're having troubles with this. They really are. Now, but nothing is loud. They loudly insist that his record is already nullified, according, meaning Obama. His record is nullified by its supposedly odious authors, or surely it soon will be discredited by the next Trumpian outrage, or his success belong to congressional and cabinet members, is what they're going to try to say. Yeah, no, it's not Trump; it's his cabinet members. While his failures, of course, any failure, if Trump fails at anything, that's all Donald Trump. Rarely do they seriously reflect on what otherwise over the last year might have been the trajectory of a Clinton administration. Bill Clinton was pretty damn successful in his first 4 years, his first 2 years in office. Well, by that token, actually, so was Obama, but Clinton did it in a way that was more constitutional, more legal, and Clinton didn't have a phone, but he had a pen, and he didn't use that pen in the same way that Obama used his pen. No, I don't think Clinton did. Clinton didn't have a cell phone back then. We really weren't big. I mean, maybe he had a pager. In the 90s, pagers were big. Remember that? Remember those? Going back in the day, pagers were huge. I know. I worked for a paging company once. Yeah, pagers were huge. Contrary to pagers are still used somewhat by certain industries. Medical industry still uses pagers. Yeah, and they don't use them the same way that they used to. Now they're just basically alerts, code alerts, and they're even getting away from that. The paging companies are. Do they even? There's not. I think there's only like 2 of them left, right? There used to be a plethora of them. Used to be coming like PageMart and PageNet and Metro Media and Ultra Media and a few others were out there. They were all big in the 90s, and then phones just got way too cheap, and pagers became useless because phones were too cheap. Phone plan, because they were big because pretty much, you know, it cost you like $1 to $2 a minute on a cell phone, and nobody wanted to spend that kind of money. So that, you know, you didn't have unlimited plans back in the 90s and early 2000s. So it costs a lot. But the price of the plan started to come down. The price per minute started to come down. And people were starting to be able to text over their phone. So pagers became less and less needed because pagers were utilized. You know, you didn't give somebody your cell phone number. You gave somebody your pager number. So if they paged you and you had a cell phone and you wanted to speak to them, or if it was, you know, business was necessary to be done at that particular moment, you'd pick up your cell phone and call them. Otherwise, you'd wait till you either got back to the office or you'd pull over and find a payphone, which were plentiful back in those days. But you didn't give people, everybody. You didn't hand out your cell phone number. You handed out on your business card. You handed out your pager number. And ask real estate agents. You know, real estate agents were some of the first people to adopt cell phones, but they didn't give out their cell phone numbers to potential customers or clients. They gave out their pager number because cell phones were expensive. To many, they were highly expensive and actually not all that efficient either back in the day. Just so you know.
You might be surprised to learn who has Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Nearly 1 in 200 Americans are suffering with the debilitating pain and constant disruption of these inflammatory bowel diseases, or IBD. Chances are you know someone with IBD. For example, your neighbor or coworker. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation was created to help patients cope and to find a cure. People with IBD can't wait. Won't you help someone you know? Visit www.escapethestall.com today.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? Shifting to a system based on primary care can help fix the problem. Patients with a primary care doctor live longer, healthier lives and are less likely to suffer from cancer, heart disease, or stroke. Primary care that is comprehensive and coordinated also saves money. Patients who have a primary care doctor spend 30% less on health care than patients who don't. States with a high number of primary care doctors have lower health care costs and higher quality care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
The Amazon's rainforest is being cut down so fast that by 2030, 55% of it could be completely wiped out. The Earth's forests can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin, this dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye? I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
You know what it's time for? It is time for today's holidays here on the Rod Eccles Show. Today is January number 18. Here are the holidays for today. Today is Get to Know Your Customers Day, something that you should probably be doing every day, actually. But hey, you know what? Let's just say that people don't have time to do it and they don't do it. So Get to Know Your Customers Day today. Is what every business should be doing on a daily basis, but it's observed on this day. It is actually observed on the third Thursday of January, April, July, and October. So every quarter. This is not just annually. This is every quarter, basically. January, April, July, and October. Get to Know Your Customers Day. It is also Maintenance Day, not maintenance man or maintenance person or maintenance woman day, but maintenance day. How do you celebrate today? By doing some routine maintenance on your property or anything that you have that needs maintenance. Do the maintenance today because today is a day for maintenance day. It is also forget doing maintenance any other time of the year. Just do it just today. In celebration of Maintenance Day. Today is also National, not International, but National Peking Duck Day. Anybody ever have Peking duck? It's actually pretty damn good. But how it's a little difficult to make from what I understand. I don't know all the nuances of it, but it's good to eat. But it's kind of like a lot of French food, a lot of French dishes. What you got to do especially when it comes to meat dishes, what you got to do to the meat, like pounding it out and breaking this and breaking that and twirling it and spinning it. And yeah, I don't want to have to go through all that. I'll eat it because it tastes damn good, but I don't want to have to go through the prep process. And the same thing with Peking duck I guess is pretty intense preparation. But anyway, today's National Peking Duck Day, so you celebrate by eating some Peking duck, which didn't even originate in this country, which is really kind of weird considering it's not International Peking Duck Day. It's just USA National Peking Duck Day. It's also National, this is a holiday that was probably invented by Starbucks. It's National Gourmet Coffee Day. Enough said about that. It is also National Sanctity of Human Life Day, also known as, AKA, as Pro-Life Day. This should actually be every day or at least every month, but today's the day that that everybody's out there with. Why do they pick January? You should be a warmer, well, especially this January where it's cold everywhere. It should be during a warmer month where people can get out and actually protest, but it is actual National Sanctity of Life Day, and it is also National Thesaurus Day. So dig out that. How do you celebrate? You dig out your thesaurus, and you use your thesaurus. You can't even say it. Thesaurus. Wow. Why do they make some words difficult to say? I don't know. And finally, for today's holidays, it is none other than Winnie the Pooh Day. Yes, Winnie the Pooh is celebrated on the birthday of A.A. Milne, who happens to be the English author who created the popular children's character. No, it was not created by Walt Disney, by the way. Walt Disney bought the rights to Winnie the Pooh. Walt Disney bought a lot of rights to. Walt Disney did not create a lot of the stories. Most of the stories that he created or the studio creates, they buy a lot. Like Star Wars, they bought Star Wars. The Muppets, they bought the Muppets. Winnie the Pooh, they bought Winnie the Pooh. The name Winnie the Pooh first appeared in a story called The Wrong Sort of Bees on Christmas Eve in 1925 in the Evening News. The following year, Milne published a volume of stories about Pooh simply titled Winnie the Pooh. Now, he followed this in 28 with The House at Pooh Corner. Now, back then it was a black bear named Winnie, short for Winnipeg, as she had come from Canada, was an inspiration for the character. Now, Winnie had resided at the London Zoo, and Milne's son, Christopher Robin Milne, thus Christopher Robin, liked to visit this bear. He even had the opportunity to feed her honey at one particular point in time. Christopher Robin Milne named his own teddy bear Winnie the Pooh, after the real-life Winnie the Bear, as well as after a swan named Pooh, that the Milnes had seen while on vacation. Now, Christopher's bear actually had originally been named Edward and had been purchased at Harrods in London. And thus, because Christopher Robin Milne, A.A. Milne's son, named his little bear, stuffed bear, after the black Canadian bear that was in the London Zoo, Winnie, and a swan named Pooh. So only a little kid could combine a bear and a swan together and get the name Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Swan. Canadian black bear the swan is basically what they're saying. But Winnie the Pooh was never black, was it? Even the original bear was brown. Black bear is black. That's why they call it a black bear. A brown bear is brown. There are four basic kinds of bears out there. Now, there's more than just these four, but there are four basic kinds of bears. I'm not sure that a panda bear really isn't a bear, is it? No. But there are there's black bear, brown bear. Now, black bear and brown bear can be similar, I suppose. But there are black bear, brown bear, grizzly bear, and polar bear. Now, those are the four basic kinds. Now, there are more than that. There are more than those kind of four bears. I understand. Somebody's going to say, no, there's more than four bears, Rod. I'm just saying those are the four basics that we know of here on this side of the world. There are four basic types of bears. And there are big bears, small bears, little bears, mini bears, all that. There's a plethora of bears out there, and even here in this half of the world and in the rest of the world, I get it. Yeah, but I don't think panda bears are not really bears, though. I don't think they're actually bears. I'm not sure what a panda bear is. I've forgotten what a panda bear really is not a bear. I forget what kind of mammal it actually is. Maybe it is a bear. Somehow I remember that panda bears are not really bears. I learned that fact. But in any case, notice that a panda bear is not named Winnie the Pooh. It is a little bear back in 1925 or so. An English author picked up on his son's love affair with a black bear from Canada at the London Zoo called Winnie, and his little stuffed bear that he decided to call Winnie the Pooh, which is originally called Edward. Edward the bear. Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? No. But in any case, Disney bought the story and even changed the whole look of Winnie the Pooh himself. If you actually look at the books of A.A. Milne, and the original drawings of Winnie the Pooh look nothing like the Disney Winnie the Pooh character. Nothing like it. But in any case, it doesn't matter. They're still great, wonderful stories, no matter whether A.A. Milne told them or Disney told them. They're beautiful, wonderful childhood stories. I used to have Winnie the Pooh books. Both Milne versions and Disney versions. They were. I'm told a panda bear is a bear. Now, it's easy to look up. I just don't have the time during the show to look it up. But I thought I had heard at some point that a panda bear was not a bear. I don't know, but I told that the panda bear is a type of bear. Okay, not going to argue. It's easy to look up, so obviously they did. But I just thought I remembered at some point, maybe it was a different animal, actually wasn't, what we call it is not actually the mammal species that it is. And I thought it was a panda bear, that pandas weren't actually bears. But evidently they are. So good for the panda. But in any case, I don't know what animal it was, but there's a plethora of animals out there that we think they belong to one family of animals, and they don't. And we've even named it that, but they're not really that type of animal. In any case, not going to dwell on it. But thank you very much for updating me on that, Chris, telling me in the chat room that it is definitely a bear, kind of a bear. So, pandas, you're bears. Well, I mean, isn't that what's in the gay kid? Aren't hairy men in the gay community? Aren't they big fat hairy men? Aren't they called panda bears? No, they're just called bears, right? Just a bear, or are they panda bears? I don't know. I'm not into bears, so I don't. If there's a woman, notice that nobody's into women that look like bears. Just saying. I'm not into bears, so I'm not going to be into hairy women. Would they still be called bears if they were hairy women, though? I don't know. In any case, I digress. You're getting me off track, off subject here. A female bear. In any case, here we are. Facebook and Google. This is Facebook and Twitter are in some trouble right now. If I can just get let's cut this off. Why is that playing? Where is that sound coming? I don't know where that sound's coming. Hopefully you didn't hear that sound. But I was hearing a sound in my ear that was driving me insane. It was taking me off my game here. But Facebook, Google tell Congress that they're fighting extremist content. Now get this for a second here. Facebook and Google tell Congress they're fighting extremist content with counter propaganda. Well, wait. So, now propaganda really is another word for lie. Usually government-sponsored lie. So Facebook and Google are telling Congress that they are countering extremist content. Now, the extremist content may or may not be truthful content. It could be very truthful, but they're going to counter it with lies. Look, this is on CNBC. This is what they told Congress. Facebook, Google, and Twitter told Congress yesterday that they've gone beyond screening and removing extremist content from their services and are creating more anti-terror propaganda. They're creating more anti-terror lies? Wait, I didn't think that these places like Facebook and Twitter, they weren't supposed to be creating the content. Or weren't the users creating all the content? So now Facebook is creating content on Facebook? I didn't know that. Did you know that? I'm going to be looking at stuff differently now on Facebook. Is this from Facebook itself? Are they trying to propagandize me? It's no different than any other. Google, YouTube. I get a yesterday's show. Because Spreaker, they have the option of automatically uploading your show to your YouTube channel. It's not as a video, but of course it just has a static picture up there. But it plays all 3 hours of the program. Now, yesterday I get a notice from YouTube. Now, understand that yesterday the show was split up into two, because my computer crashed or got turned off by some outside source or something happened and just shut down. So but the program was still nearly 3 hours long when you combine the two halves of it. And both halves got automatically uploaded over to YouTube. Before 3 p.m., now understand this is 3 hours, 9 to noon. So it gets uploaded automatically at noon. Before 3 p.m., I get an email from YouTube telling me that these two videos that were uploaded from Spreaker had been removed because they were in violation of the terms and service of YouTube. Now understand, I have hundreds of show episodes over there on YouTube. So it's not the program itself. But for whatever reason, I mean, we were talking a lot about in both halves, with Agent 0010 about stuff, serious stuff, real stuff, truthful stuff. We talked about ISIS, and that's probably what got it banned, because we talked about ISIS, and we talked about Iran, and we talked about human rights. But they told me upon review. Now, who reviewed a 3-hour program in less than 3 hours? And how would they even know to review it? Did somebody, they didn't tell me, did somebody, did they catch the show and then decide to flag it? But how do you review a 3-hour program in less than 3 hours, decide to remove it, and then send out the email that you removed it? Now, I don't know how they go through this process. Is this a process that's actually done by a human being, or is this an automated process that if certain words pop up? No, I don't understand. This is what happens over on Twitter. They have a list of about 5,000 words that'll get you flagged. Is this what's happening over in Google? That somehow the videos ran through their automatic screening software program, and we said a couple of words on there that caused the whole video, both videos, to be flagged? That is the only explanation. Because we were talking about ISIS and Iran in the Middle East. That is the only explanation for this, for yesterday's program to be booted off of YouTube. Now, frankly, I don't care, except for the fact that every time they do this, they give you a strike. Now, I don't know what the hell this strike thing is. And if I get too many strikes, then my account can be removed. I'm like, well, go ahead. There isn't a single thing on YouTube that I don't have. Go ahead. I can start a new account, or I could just go to other forums, or I could just even post it on my own. And they think they're all of that. And they think that they're protecting you and me from ourselves, evidently, from telling the truth. So they're propagandizing. They're admitting that they're propagandizing. Executives from the 3 largest social media companies shared their latest methods of fighting extremism during testimony. So I guess just talking about Islam and just talking about ISIS and just talking about what's going on in Iran and just talking about it, telling the truth, news. I wonder if CNN has ever had any video taken down by YouTube. I just wonder. Well, I mean, look, I don't know why I would expect to not be hammered, because people like Mark Dice have been hammered, have been put in YouTube jail. Other conservatives have as well, prominent conservatives, which is a big reason why Mark Levin decided to do the CL TV thing, his whole TV system, his whole video system. That's why he decided to, because there were a few times that his videos, and he got pissed off about it. He's like, why are they're banning my video? Why? Yeah, morons. Well, that would be Mark Levin. Don't blame him. Look, these people are losing audience in their various places. You think there is somebody who actually did some real numbers on Facebook. Facebook claims that they've got like 1.5 billion, pages or users or whatever. But the actual number of real individual users is less than 1 billion. It's somewhere around 600 million. That's half. I can understand that because hey, look, I'm a single individual that has my own page plus about 3 or 4 other pages. I've got my personal profile page and then business pages. So I can see where the number of pages, but the number of profiles is nowhere near what Facebook claims. Look, we already know that there are tons of bots on Twitter. And Twitter even went through a whole Twitter purge of trying to find a lot of these bots and get rid of them. But they still exist. And the reality is that content being created on Facebook is actually being created by fewer and fewer people. Which means those people are going other places. Alternative of sites, like WeMe, for instance, or there's another Facebook like what is it? Tea Party something, I think it is, and maybe it's not called Tea Party. There's another one. There's a couple of secondary and growing alternatives to Facebook out there, and people are going to those. No joke. They're not wasting their time being hammered by leftist Zuckerberg and such. But in any case, we're almost out of time for today anyway. We'll be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow is we got some information here. Hold on. About the panda bear. Got some, giant panda. The giant panda, also known as panda bear or simply panda, is a bear native to South Central China. Yeah, we know that. It's easily recognized by the large distinctive black patches around its eyes, over its ears, and across its round body. Yet we think, hey, are panda bears fat? Or are they obese? I don't know. What is their BMI index? The Wikipedia says the scientific name is, I can't even pronounce that, Alluropoda melanoluca trophic. Forget all that other stuff. A female panda is 150 to 220 pounds as an adult. And did you know that the giant panda lives in a few mountain ranges in central China, mainly in the Sichuan province, but also in the Shaanxi province and Gansu provinces. So there you have it. Wonderful. Well, we're out of time for today. We will catch you back here tomorrow for Open Mic Friday. That is what's happening. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the old style exit, will ya? I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out.
feels good to be a Clinton. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A shameless politician always plays her cards right. Got a crew for the fight on the airwaves. Lapdogs in the press keep their mouths tight. Cause a Clinton never needs to explain what, why it is what they done or with who. A real Clinton knows that they're entitled, and you don't get to know what they do.
What difference does it make?
For a Clinton, what's loaded in some fat Oppo file? A Clinton plays the victim for promotion. A Clinton kills it off with a smile.